information you need. That's all the information you need. Take a look at this here. How to understand only from this picture, from this figure. Can you tell which point which point cover which point? You think?
We can
Seems like.
project the DBN to the image and see
What's the what?
what's the 2 points.
What's the 2 points?
They are collinear.
Uh-huh.
For example, B plot and C is collinear.
No, that's
C
like,
plot and C.
yeah, let's just write it. C plot, okay. C plot and C, they are collinear, right? Okay.
So they are.
How to know that? How to know that? Yeah. From here, yes, we know C plot and C, they are collinear. And also C plot covers C, right? Okay.
So if the C plot and C will project to the image, they will be the same plot.
Yeah, that's important. But however, after you project it, how to determine which point cover which point? All right, let me go back a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, they are collinear. The point, one point cover the other point means that if you reproject both of them to the image, then they will appear at exactly the same location. So which indicates occurrence, right? But however, after we reproject these 2 points to the image, how can I determine C plot covers C instead of C covers C plot? It's a very interesting question. What can we do? There's a very easy solution for that, actually. Easy solution.
Yes.
Right. Don't be shy.
No, I was just guessing. You can compare the height by DM.
The what? The height of the DM. What do you mean by that?
So probably you can decide like the one have higher elevation is the one cover the other point.
So the one is higher should cover the one which is lower.
Yeah.
Right? So the one C plot is higher, so it covers the C.
Yeah.
Yes, this is one solution. This is one solution. This solution has a name, which is black. To get something excited. Alright, so anyway, this solution has a name, which is called as H buffer. H indicates height. H buffer solution. So let's explain this first. Alright, so this H buffer means that before you perform the authentication, you need to prepare one data, which is called H buffer index. And the idea for this image, so this has the coordinate system of the image, the x and y. So the procedure of that is to reproject all the points, back to the image, And so, for example, gradually you will reproject all the points, and that's assume, say, this point is where the C and C plot. Okay, right? Suppose so let's assume this is the pixel that both of them reproject to, and then in this case, when you are creating this H buffer, preparing this H buffer, the data, the information that you store for this pixel is the height. It's the height of the point that you just reprojected, and you will keep which point, the height of which point, C plot or C? Your C plot or C? C plan, right? Deborah, why C plan? Yes, yes. So we need to. So the answer is yes. We need to store the height of the C plan. But why C plan? Why not C? Why not C? Why not C? Inside. You need to answer more questions because you joined us a little bit late, so you need to answer like double amount of questions from now on. So, why? Why we store the taller or higher elevation instead of lower elevation? Any thoughts? C plan.
Projected from C,
Yeah.
so it contains height of the object.
No, it didn't contain the height or the height of the content. The idea is actually very simple. Whatever is taller or whatever is lower, but you may have multiple objects in under the tallest object. So in this case, let's just store the tallest one, the highest one. Right. So in this case, let's store the information of the C plan height or layer. So the H buffer means that you will store the height information. So for all the points, you will go through all the object space points and then project it to the image. And then if they appears at the same location, then store the higher one and store the larger one. And then you will do that for any other pixels, and then you can have the H buffer. You can have the H buffer. That's the general procedure, but as you can imagine, the object space points, they will be, well, you can say they will be discrete. Then in this case, after you project it, maybe some of the pixels, they are black. So you don't have the information for some of the pixel. So in this case, you need to perform the interpolation later. You need to perform the interpolation. So that's the detail, that's the detail for maybe Zhen Yong. Maybe he will be the one that need to process these in the future. Okay, so that's the H buffer. And actually, this H buffer is proposed by our center. This solution is proposed by our center, by the Professor L.C. Chan's group, my supervisor when I was studying over here. Right. So anyway, but that means beside this H buffer, actually there's another solution which is called the Z buffer. The more famous solution. Right? You store the information of Z. But what that Z is, of course, is different from height. So we'll explain that. Right. Okay. So this is the same pixel where the C and C plan point is. So the procedure is the same. You will reproject all the object space coordinates to the image space, and as you can see, C and C plan points, they will appear at the same location on the image. Then in this case, what's the information we are going to store in that index image? Is the distance from your perspective center to your object space location. So for example, this is the Z C plan, and this will be the Z C. So the Z means the distance from your perspective center to your object space coordinates. Right? They use the distance, right, to determine which point is encoded by which point. Okay? As you can see, if we use the distance then which one is the ZC plan or ZC should we store in the Z buffer? So, which one should we store? So,
The shorter one.
the shorter one, yeah. So because as you can see, the one that has the shorter distance covers the one that has the longer distance. So we should store the ZC one. So here, what we should store is the ZC one distance. Right, that's the information that we need to store. Okay. Okay, till now, any question? Okay, so if no question, then let's move on. So in this case, like I said, before you perform the actual auto replication procedure, you will prepare the H buffer or either H buffer or Z buffer, this type of index map or index image. Then after that, you can perform the true auto replication procedure. Then in this case, when we reproject one certain object space coordinate to the image space, when we, for example, right now, let's just take focus on the C point. When we reproject the C point to the image, then after you reproject it, you get the XC and YC on the image. Then you will compare with the information that you have over here. This is also X and Y in the image space, right? So after we project it, we know, okay, so the C point will project it to this pixel, and we will get the information over here. As you can see, if it's H buffer, we will get the C plan height from this pixel. If this is Z buffer, then we can get ZC plan distance over here. So we will compare, say, first, if you are using the H buffer, let's say, if you are using the H buffer, you will find out C plan height is higher than C height. Right. You will find out C plan height is larger than C height. And if you are using the Z buffer, then what you will find out is ZC plan distance is smaller than ZC distance. And both of these indicate occlusion. Right. These conditions indicate occlusion. Right? So which means that when you are processing the C point, then you will find out with the C buffer and also H buffer, you will find out this point is occluded pixel or occluded location. And then in this case, this occluded region can be identified. Right? This occluded region can be identified. And once you identify that, the usual process is to first fill in red. Fill in red for that region. Red or black, doesn't matter. Depends on the developer. It will be all red or all black for that region. Okay. Yeah. So in this case, you will exclude that region from the true author image. And when people get one true author image, then there will be this region, this type of region that has no information. Okay, basically that's the true author, you can say the true author replication procedure. Till now, any question? Yes.
What if there is multiple building offering? So the person is still the same one.
You can imagine if you have another building, for example over here. So in this case, can the H buffer and Z buffer handle that? You can think about that. And yeah, well, I won't tell you the answer, but however, it should be easy. You can just draw it and then and try to like imagine what it will be with the edge buffer and Z buffer. Okay? And supposedly it should work. Supposedly it should work. All right. Any other question? Yes. Doesn't matter. It's not necessary to generate from LiDAR. Alright, DSM can also generate it from, and usually not from LiDAR. LiDAR is expensive. So DSM is more usually from the photogrammetry. So doing this, using the stereo pairs and to find the feature point, and then to like get the elevation, to get the upper space coordinates, so that you can have the DSM. That's a more a cheaper solution to have the DSM instead of LiDAR. DBN. How to know the DBN? DBN has two possible sources. One is from the design. So when you are building, doing the construction to construct this building, then you should have the design. So one thing is from that. For example, like being those data when they are designed with architect, they are designing this building, they should have that originally. And the other thing is there are other government data that has this type of information. For example, like the vector maps, they have the flow heights. For example, you have the building footprint, and then you have the height of that. And so, for example, like this building, you have three floors with concrete or with wood. So those are the information that you can get. So in this case, of course, it's not very precise. But however, with the number of floors, you can estimate the height of that. But that is